Welcome to Concordia On-Air. My name is Magner.
And I'm Ingrid.
And on today's show we have...
In news, International Education Week.
In sports, touchdowns and rebounds and goals. Oh my!
And on A&E, an interview with a cast member from Young Frankenstein.
That and more on Concordia On-Air.
So, Thanksgiving break is coming up soon.
Yes! What are you going to do for Thanksgiving?
For Thanksgiving, I'm going to go home. I'll probably celebrate with my family. We usually have a pretty big gathering where my family comes from all around the area, and we'll eat like turkey and cranberries and stuffing, just like the traditional Thanksgiving. And it's pretty fun. We go out to my grandparents' farm and we spend all day out there eating and chatting, and yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, we had in IOC, our teacher talked about that the American talks a lot about politics during the Thanksgiving.
At Thanksgiving, yeah, that happens sometimes. My family, we don't talk about politics too much. I have heard some stories from my friends, though. So, what are your Thanksgiving plans?
I don't know. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Normally we have normal school in this time of the year in Norway, so I never think it through. I was going to Minneapolis, but I could cancel. So I'm thinking about staying here on campus and just work, saving money for Black Friday.
Black Friday, that's another thing. Do you usually go out and shop on Black Friday?
Yeah, so we have kind of adopted the American thing in Norway, Black Friday the last years, but we have like a Black Week. So it's like a new, so the electronic shops have like a new thing that's really cheap each day. And I remember one of the things 2 years ago was a headset, Dr. Dre headset, which they sold for like, original price was around $150, and they sold it for like $25, and people just run into the store, and that was the big deal of the day. And then they had another one next day, so we have like another type of it.
Yeah, I usually don't go out and shop on Black Friday. I usually like to lay low on that day. It gets a little bit crazy, like at all the malls and all the stores. So
yeah, we have
never been big into that.
You don't like to wake up 5 in the morning to go to the store and get pressed between grandma and Uncle Jacob?
That's not my scene. Yeah, I've heard some crazy Black Friday stories, and I don't know if I want to be a part of that.
I'm actually looking forward for that. I want to try it to see how it is.
Are you going to go out early in the morning?
Oh, yes.
See what it's like?
I'm going to go and I'm just going to buy the first thing I see and I'm just going to call it a day. Isn't that how Black Friday works?
That sounds like it is.
Okay, I'm going to come.
All right, now on to news.
Hello and welcome to news. My name is Abby.
And I'm Andrew.
Monday marked the start of International Education Week, a nationwide program dedicated to educating future global citizens and leaders. Here at Concordia, the week kicked off with the International Flag Ceremony in recognition of the many countries represented by our national students. The celebration continues tonight at 7 in Jones AB with the monthly celebration of nations, where students will learn about Nepal. On Thursday and Friday, students can visit the atrium for mini language sessions and introducing dialects from around the world. And on Saturday, the week will be wrapping up with the International Student Festival in the Centrum, and an evening full of performances. Throughout the week, an interactive map will be displayed in the atrium, and an around-the-world photo exhibition will be held in the Skyway and the atrium courtyard. All of these events are great ways to show support for international students and to gain a global perspective.
Concordia's theater program began presenting its latest production, Young Frankenstein, last Thursday. The show is based on a 1974 movie of the same name and has become a musical adaptation since its Broadway premiere in 2007. The plot is centered around a descendant of Dr. Frankenstein who has traveled to Transylvania to claim an inheritance. The show had 4 performances this last weekend from Thursday through Sunday and is currently scheduled for 3 more shows this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 8 p.m. Tickets are free for Concordia students and can be reserved at the school's online box office or at the show.
On November 14th, the Fargo-Moorhead Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Group held its 7th annual Pancreatic Cancer Walk in downtown Fargo. The night began with a vigil at First Lutheran Church, where participants recognized friends and family who are fighting the disease, as well as remembering those who have passed. Then, carrying purple glow sticks and signs devoted to loved ones, hundreds of participants walked down Broadway to raise awareness for the disease. Between the lights put up by businesses and the attire of many who were part of the walk, downtown in Fargo became a sea of purple, the color symbolizing Pancreatic Cancer Month. All proceeds and donations from the walk went toward the Sanford Roger Maris Cancer Center to help patients with pancreatic cancer receive the care they need.
According to an FBI report, the American automobile industry has been the target of hackers since at least late 2018. The FBI warned that hackers could successfully compromise auto industry computer systems using sophisticated techniques and by taking advantage of network vulnerabilities. These attacks can result in data breaches that expose employee information as well as give unauthorized access to financial records. This can lead to the theft of sensitive information and illegal wire transfers. The FBI did not identify any specific cyber actors to have been targeting the auto industry, or if any of the attempts were from other governments. The report lists out the number of ways in which hackers have successfully compromised companies and the measures that should be in place to proactively deter this specific threat.
Pollution in New Delhi during the past weeks. New Delhi has been facing record-breaking levels of air pollution, raising health concerns for the city's 21 million residents. While smog is not unusual in the highly populated capital, increasing levels of pollution have escalated the air quality index past 800, more than 3 times what is considered hazardous. The thick smog is the result of many human activities, including crop burning, construction, and traffic pollution, as well as smoke from firecrackers set off annually in celebration of the Hindu holiday Diwali. Meanwhile, schools have been closed, flights have been canceled, and those who can afford to stay home are doing so in order to avoid exposure to the toxic air, which, when breathed, is equivalent to smoking 50 cigarettes per day. While authorities continue to search for solutions to the air quality crisis, protests against the deadly pollution continue around the city.
The Taliban's released 2 Western professors in a prisoner swap with the United States and Australia. U.S. citizen Kevin King and Australian citizen Timothy Weeks were kidnapped from their vehicle while traveling in Kabul in August 2016, according to the FBI. Both men taught at the American University of Afghanistan, which announced their release on Tuesday. The release was announced by the American University of Afghanistan, where both men taught. The Taliban received 3 senior commanders in return and later commended the swap, calling it a positive step towards goodwill and confidence-building measures that can aid the peace process. It's possible that this may help new negotiations for peace after previous attempts had faltered. And now on to an interview with Noah Teague from Speech.
I'm joined today by Noah Teagues from the Concordia Speech team. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Noah.
Of course.
It's so nice to have you. So first, can you tell us a little bit about what Speech is?
Yeah, so Speech is a competitive activity on campus and a lot of campuses around in the United States where we travel to different colleges on the weekends and compete with other collegiate programs with speeches that we have prepared. And so, sometimes they're the speeches that you think of, that are in your introductory to public speaking class that are persuasive speeches and informative speeches, but you can also have poetry speeches, which you interpret a piece of poetry and perform it for an audience, or an impromptu speech where you're given a quotation and you have to prepare a speech about what this quotation is really saying in 7 minutes. So there's a wide variety of what it actually happens in speech, and it's my favorite thing to do on campus. It's so much fun.
Oh, awesome. So what does a typical competition look like?
Yeah, so typically competitions typically start at 8 a.m. around there, and you go into your first round of competition, and say you're competing with persuasive speaking. So you go into the round and there's a judge and 5 or 6 other competitors who are also there, and the judge calls people up to give their persuasive speeches, and then without letting the competitors know, they rank the speeches from best to worst, and then after 2, sometimes 3 preliminary rounds of that, typically top 6 speakers go to a final round, and the judges then decide from there between the top speakers of the competition who wins, and so on.
Very cool. So what categories do you compete in?
So right now I'm competing in communication analysis, which is a category where we analyze communication, persuasive speaking, which is a persuasive speech, impromptu, which I described earlier, and prose, which is performing like books or newspaper articles, things that are meant to be read, and performing that for an audience.
Do you have a favorite out of those?
I mean, like, impromptu is kind of a rush because you have no idea what's going to happen in it. But I think my favorite is probably communication analysis. I'm talking about a topic that I'm really interested in. So
very cool. So what is your favorite part of speech?
Can I say two?
Sure.
So I really enjoy the advocacy of speech because all of our speeches are on topics that we as competitors care about, and getting to speak about those so often and spread the word about my messages is something that's really important to me. That advocacy I think is so cool, and hearing other people's advocacy and what they're talking about too. The other thing obviously is the people in it. Like I just meet the most incredible people on the team and on other teams, and I just am constantly laughing when I'm around the team. It's so much fun.
That's very cool. So how has the team been doing this year so far?
Yeah, we've been doing really well this year. We've had a lot of competitive success. We've won like 4 or so tournaments, something like that, and been in the top 2 at a lot of other tournaments that we've gone to so far. So it's been really cool to get that that recognition in the community of doing so well. And we've also, our coaches have been really preaching being balanced. So getting success in that of like maintaining a balance between competition and our personal well-being is also a success that we've been having a lot of.
That's awesome. So good to hear. So what else are you looking forward to this season?
I'm really looking forward to, in February, we are hosting the state collegiate tournament for Minnesota here on campus. So everyone could come and watch and see a couple rounds of speech. And then nationals this year is in California. Just so exciting. Wow. Yeah, in freezing April when it should be warm here, we're going to be in California for a week. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's awesome. I'm jealous. Maybe I'll join. So what kind of time commitment is it like being on the team?
Yeah, so it's kind of a bigger one. We typically meet for about an hour on Mondays at team meetings, and then have about a 2-hour practice on Wednesdays. And then you have your coaching sessions throughout the week along with individual practice time. So it's a commitment, but I think that the payoffs are fully worth it.
Very cool. So how would somebody that is interested in speech join that?
Right. I mean, if they see me on campus, they can come up and talk to me. Otherwise, they can come to Olin, the communications department up on the 3rd floor, and find either Najla Amundsen, who is the director of forensics, or Zachary Ohm, who's the assistant coach, or pretty much any comm professor could probably direct them in the right direction to people to talk to join the speech team.
Very cool. Would you recommend it?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Noah.
Of course.
I wish you luck in the rest of your season.
Thank you.
Now over to sports.
Good evening, sports fans. I'm Grant.
And I'm Dom.
The Cobbers finished their football season on a high note with a 54-21 win over Carleton last Saturday. With Craigness still out due to an injury he suffered against St. Olaf, junior Sean McGuire started at quarterback for the first time in his collegiate career. He wasted no time leading the offense to a 41-point first half. McGuire finished the game accounting for 4 of the team's 8 total touchdowns, while passing for 128 yards and rushing for 173 more. Concordia dominated the running game with 420 total yards on the ground. Although senior Alex Berg only had to punt twice in the game, he had a monster 75-yard punt and averaged 45 yards per punt throughout the season, which breaks a previous school record set back in 1998. Concordia finished the season on a 3-game winning streak, including the incredible upset over St. John's, and this victory brings the Cobbers' record to 5-5 overall and 5-3 in the MIAC. This is the 7th time in the past 8 seasons that Concordia has won at least 5 conference games.
After picking up their first victory of the season, 92-90 over Wisconsin Stout, Concordia's men's basketball team returned to Moorhead for their home opener against St. Scholastica. The Cobbers found themselves trailing 39-35 at halftime, but freshman guard Jackson Jangula scored 16 of his 26 points on a perfect 6-for-6 shooting performance in the second half to help Concordia come from behind for their second victory of the year by a score of 82-77. The game came down to the wire in the closing 2 minutes of the game, with both teams tied at 75, but Cobber senior John Wrighton's mid-range jumper ignited a 7-2 run to seal the game in favor of Concordia. Wrighton's 19 points was good enough for the second most on the team behind Jangula. Tommy Scheima led the Cobbers in rebounds with 9, and Bryden Uri secured a team-high 3 assists. Concordia's next game will be against Augsburg right back here in Moorhead this Saturday at 1 p.m.
St. Scholastica barely edged out Concordia's women's basketball team this past Saturday, besting the Cobbers 77-73. Coming out of halftime tied at 44, St. Scholastica was able to pull away with a small lead throughout the second half, but Concordia attempted to come back late in the fourth quarter. But the Cobbers simply ran out of time. Mary Sem and Autumn Thompson led Concordia with 20 points each, while Elizabeth Birkemeyer and Vanessa Kettle each had 6 rebounds. Sem also led the Cobbers with 6 assists in the game. This loss drops the Cobbers to 1-2 on the season, and they will host Augsburg on Saturday at 3 p.m. right here in Moorhead.
Both the men's and women's hockey teams capped off the weekend with victories. The men bested Hamline University by a score of 3-2 in a non-conference game in St. Michael. Aaron Hurt scored his first 2 goals of the season after leading the team last year, while Tyler Bossart picked up his 2 assists, doubling his season total. Goalie Jacob Stevens saved 15 shots and picked up his first win of the season and his 22nd win as a Cobber. This victory elevates the men to 2-5 this season, and they will open up a 2-game series this weekend against St. John's in St. Cloud. The women came out on top in their match against St. Mary's 3-1. After falling behind 1-0 in the first period, the Cobbers scored 3 unanswered goals to secure their 3rd win of the season and first conference victory as well. Allie Whittala got the scoring started in the first period, and Maya McCowan gave Concordia the lead in the 3rd. Callie Fagerstrom put the cherry on top with an empty net goal with 30 seconds left to play to put the game out of reach. The women will be at home this weekend hosting St. Benedict for a 2-game series on the 23rd and 24th. Now on to an interview with Sean from Up to Us.
So today I have Sean Feeney from Up to Us, which is also a mathematics financial major here in Concordia. So Sean, can you tell me a little about what Up to Us is?
So Up to Us is a national organization. We engage in nonpartisan public awareness campaigns across college campuses to raise awareness about fiscal debt and fiscal policy. Just a few facts at you right now. Right now, the U.S. national debt is at $23 trillion, and in 2018 alone, $318 billion of the federal budget was used just to cover the interest. By 2026, it will become the 3rd largest expenditure of the federal budget behind Medicare and Social Security. And by 2048, I know these numbers sound really far out, but that's only about less than 30 years out, it will become the #1 expenditure for the U.S. government to cover the interest expense.
So what is Up to Us going to do with that? Are they going to try to decrease it or give more awareness around that topic?
So that's the whole point of Up to Us, is to raise awareness pretty much for the national debt and why it matters to us and why it matters for especially young people on college campuses, because that's the world we will be going into. But we're all about nonpartisan policies, so we don't advocate for any policies per se, but we do advocate for education and growing awareness of this financial crisis that is happening in our country right now. If the U.S. does, default on that debt, it will not be good for any of us or our futures. So we just want to make sure that we introduce Concordia students and the community to what fiscal debt is, what these fiscal policies mean, and how it impacts you directly.
So yes, if you have interest in helping with this, is there any way we can contact Up to Us?
Yes, so there is a way to contact us. You can follow us at Cobbers Up to Us on Instagram, and you can also approach our team leader, Moshe Mukori, about joining the Cobber Up to Us, where we participate in this national competition each year. And if you're interested in being the leader for this competition next year, you can always come to me, or you can visit any of the other Cobber Up to Us members, and we can give you the information that you need.
Yes, I also read a mail that there was going to be a meeting very soon. Can you tell me a little about what that meeting is going to be about?
Yes, so next Monday evening from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the Martin Luther King Lounge in Park Region, we're going to be hosting kind of a little art ceremony. It's not so much about art, but it's just posting facts about the national debt, what it is, some graphs so people can understand it, and how we as college students, especially at Concordia, can help to raise awareness in our community and advocate to our politicians and our leaders about why this is so important to us and important for the future of not only America, but the world.
So this is a group that we hope will stand for a long time, that can spread awareness to maybe future politicians.
Yes.
And out maybe to other colleges and universities as well, right?
Correct. So we're part of a larger national organization. This is the first year Up to Us has come to Concordia, but it's a competition they hold each year to see who can raise the most awareness on college campus and who can collect the most pledges. So if you're also interested in signing the pledge about it is up to us about the national debt, you can reach out to us on Instagram or on other social media platforms, and we can give you the link for that.
So you're traveling as well then? To other places around the U.S. or is...
Yes, well, mainly just within the community, because the whole goal is to raise awareness on our specific campus and within our community. So we reach out to local media outlets like the on-campus media outlets we're doing right now, and we also go into the community. So we're going to be meeting with 106.9 The Eagle and getting some radio time to help raise more awareness and get more people involved in this campaign nationally.
That's very interesting. Thank you so much for coming here today, Shanfini. And we hope to hear more about Up to Us. Now over to interview with one of the cast members of Young Frankenstein.
Hi, welcome to A&E. I'm KJ, and this is Mary Noah. Mary, what is your role in Young Frankenstein?
So in Young Frankenstein, I play a character called Frau Blucher. She starts off as this very kind of stoic old lady, but through the show you see her transition into more of a spunky, sporadic, eccentric, kind of kooky old gal.
What's your favorite part about playing Frau Blucher?
My favorite part is probably just like the drastic changes that she makes within the show. And then just being a part of the Concordia Theater production as a whole is really awesome. Everyone's super supportive and kind.
I agree. If you could play any other character in the show, though, who would it be and why?
So if I was to play any other character, I would probably take the role that Levi Kovic currently plays. He plays Inspector Kemp, but he also is part of the dance ensemble. I love all the music, I love all the dancing, I love the humor, I think it's hilarious. So if I wasn't the Frau, I'd probably want to be Inspector Kemp.
What's your favorite show in the song? I mean, what's your favorite song in the show?
So I sing a song called He Was My Boyfriend, which I love it. But if I was to pick kind of a more ensemble-y song, it would be Transylvania Mania. It's a huge dance number, and I stand backstage singing it, and I laugh the entire time.
I agree. I think that part is so fun, and I love watching it. What's the last thing that you do before you get on stage?
So the whole show, I'm kind of prepping for the next scene, but funny enough, the last thing I do right before I come on for some of my bigger scenes is help move set pieces. And that's one thing that I really actually like about Concordia Theater is everybody's constantly contributing. It's not just one person helping out with one specific design role for them. It's everybody's constantly utilizing each other's talents or communicating backstage. So I'm moving a set piece. Yeah.
What's the most challenging part about playing your character?
Oddly enough, it's not the character itself, but I have many on-stage moments with Jared Torgerson, one of the funniest human beings in the world, but it also makes it very difficult because anytime I look at Jared on stage, I just start to crack up. So that's probably one of the most difficult parts, funny enough.
Okay, so without giving anything away, because of course we still have shows happening, will you please share with us one of your favorite lines from the show?
Rather than a line, there's this moment, and Lucas Burr plays Victor von Frankenstein, or Frederick, sorry. Aiden plays Victor, but Lucas plays Frederick, and he doesn't say anything, but it's just this laugh that he does, and it's like a nervous laugh. And if you come to the show, you'll know exactly what I mean, because it's like, ah ha 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 ha. It's so funny, and it just gets me every single time.
What do you do outside of theater?
So, I'm a freshman, and I've been trying to do as many clubs and activities as I can, but currently I'm involved in CEC and SALT, and then I also work at Caribou.
Oh,
yeah.
That's fun, though.
Yeah, I totally love it.
Do you find it easy to balance all those things, or does it get hard at times?
I think it's easier. I'm one of those people where I find it easier to balance when I have added pressure. So yeah, I love everything that I do, and I wouldn't want to sacrifice any of them.
That's great. Okay, so thank you, Mary, for being here and having this lovely interview with us. Please come see Young Frankenstein this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 8 o'clock. And now on to a package.
Some of them.
Do it after this. Oh, okay, that's completely my bad.
That's okay.
All right, so Young Frankenstein is a musicalization of Mel Brooks's famous movie, Young Frankenstein, the same name, which is a parody of the old black and white horror movie, Frankenstein.
If you liked Mary Shelley, but it was a really long, boring book, and you wanted it to be funny and the Cliff Notes version, that's this musical.
It's hilarious, and I think it's hilarious on its own, but knowing the people that are in the show and being friends with them, it makes it just that much funnier.
Well, I've always been a Mel Brooks fan. I love all Mel Brooks's movies. I think he's very funny, and I was particularly excited that he musicalized Young Frankenstein and just was, leapt at the opportunity to be able to direct and choreograph that. It's a very funny show. There's a lot of parody in it. There's a lot of pastiche in it. There's a lot of innuendo and sort of low humor, which I sort of love.
The rehearsal process for Young Frankenstein has been super fun, super rewarding. It's been awesome to come here almost every night these last couple months and see where the show started and see where we are now. And I think it's grown exponentially. It's been such a fun experience.
But it changes so much, and Donna changes every single day. Like I couldn't just tell you a typical day, and this happens all the time.
And then everyone should be here by 7. So then we do warm-ups, and if we're like on a day like today, we're only doing Act 1, so we only do like stretches and just easy body warm-ups. Whereas in the second act we have tapping, so we do a regular warm-up and a tap warm-up, and then we gather around if. Like today, Ian had to talk to us about stuff, so there's something to talk about before rehearsal. We will do that, and then afterwards, once the stretching is done and we review any of the dance moves that the dancers need to go over, then we get ready for the top of the show.
Young Frankenstein runs for 2 weekends starting November 14th. With Grant and Abby, you're watching Concordia On Air.
Thank you for watching Concordia On Air. See you next week.